Hey, it's me, Vicki Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. So, in this video, I'm going to talk to you about Cole Cooper. Now, we covered this case. Cole, just 19 years old, went missing, didn't he? And very sadly, and all my condolences and uh, virtual hugs. I don't know what to say as far as his family is concerned. I cannot imagine what they're going through because, unfortunately, very sadly, Cole was found deceased. So he went from being a missing person to now a person who was found deceased in some woodland not far away from where he lived. And the police are treating his death as unexplained. So there's a lot we still do not know about this case. I don't know if his family know more. We haven't had a cause of death from Cole. All that's been said is he was found in woodland. Now, the family are convinced. What we're going to talk about in this video is Cole's family have come out on Sky News, and we're going to watch a little bit of that interview, to say they are convinced a third person was involved in Cole's death. So I presume the police are investigating, though I do believe that the family aren't very happy with the way that this all went right from the beginning. Okay, what we're going to start with, we're going to look at a little bit of the background to how Cole went missing, when he went missing, where he went missing from, etc. And have a look at the vigil. There was a vigil held for him on Sunday just gone. We're on the 18th of June if you're watching this video as it goes out. And it is a Wednesday. So the vigil took place on Sunday, the 1st. No, sorry, not Sunday the 1st. Where are we now? Gosh, you know what I'm like with dates. I'm absolutely rubbish. The 15th of June, Sunday the 15th of June, a vigil was held for Cole. We're going to have a little look at that as well. So let's start off with looking at that, and then we're going to see what his family, they don't know what happened. They're not saying they know. What they're saying is, through their heartbreak, they believe that somebody else was involved. So was somebody else involved? And as I said, the police are not saying, they're not describing it as a murder inquiry or saying there are no suspicious circumstances, which is quite often what they say. They're saying at the moment it's unexplained. Okay, so let's have a look at the vigil. So you can see it was very well attended. A lot of people there, a lot of this Cole's case. When he went missing, it was something that caught the hearts of people a little bit in the way that Jay Slater did. The thing is, a 19-year-old lad just disappearing and then, mysteriously sort of turning up, sort of deceased, found in woodland not far away. I mean, what happened? What happened between his last sighting and finding up there? Whether there's foul play or not, the family want answers. So hundreds turned out for the vigil held in memory of Cole Cooper, and this was in the grounds of Glenn's Curly Hotel in Banknock on Sunday evening, when Mr. Cooper was remembered by hundreds of people. And not only that attended there, people lit candles, because the Facebook group that the family set up, I think they live streamed the vigil, so people lit candles, people thought of him at that time, etc. So, Cole has touched a lot of people, and that that is a positive thing, at least. I mean, it's a shame that he had to touch people in this way, but I think people became endeared with Cole. The videos that the family showed of him, he liked karaoke, they shared information about what kind of person he was, etc. He was just a young 19-year-old on the brink of the rest of his life. And so it's always especially sad, isn't it, when a young person does not get the chance to live out their life fully. So he has been formally identified now. I mean, he wasn't when he was first found, obviously, but it was obvious that it was Cole, so much so that the police informed the family. You know, the police will often do that, won't they? They inform the family, even though there's been no formal identification, because I believe Cole had tattoo. There will be reasons that once they inform the family, you can be pretty much 99.9% certain it is that person. So a vigil has been held in memory of a teenager who went missing for 4 weeks before his body was found. So sad that, isn't it? 4 weeks. He was last seen by his family on May the 2nd or 3rd and was reported missing by them on May the 9th. So it's quite a big time gap there, isn't there? If his family last saw him on May the 3rd, let's say, and reported missing 6 days later. So, you know, the police were a little bit on the back foot, I suppose, because he had been missing a little while by then. So, the last sightings were always, you know, I said in the videos that I've done, and then people, you know, some people left comments saying I'd given wrong information. I only give information that I read off either news articles or the Facebook pages or whatever from the family. I mean, official information. I don't make things up. You know, so if the information given by the police is incorrect, then yeah, you are right to say my information is incorrect, but it's not my information. It's the police's information. So he was last seen on CCTV on Sunday, May the 4th in Longcroft, Falkirk. So this is Scotland for people outside the UK. Scotland, I think most people will have heard of Scotland itself, but Falkirk is sort of, let's have a look. If I show you on the maps, probably better, because I'll probably describe where it is and I'll get it wrong, and then I have been to Falkirk. I've driven through Falkirk. I wouldn't say that I've been to Falkirk. It's very, very pretty, let's say. You know, the countryside around. I mean, Scotland is probably one of the most beautiful places that I've ever been to, countryside-wise. I think just coming in on the plane, you know, as you go, I landed at Glasgow Airport, Prestwick. So beautiful coming down, you know, because it is a beautiful place. Anyway, so this is where Falkirk is. Now, you know, most people will have heard of, like, obviously the bigger cities like Glasgow. Let's have a look. Dunblane, unfortunately, is quite infamous because we had a school shooting there many years ago. That Andy Murray, the tennis player, he was a child at that school where the Dunblane shooting took place. So here's Glasgow, Paisley, that maybe people will have heard of, definitely Glasgow. Falkirk is here. Where's Edinburgh? And Edinburgh is over here. So Falkirk is sort of, yeah, it's sort of in between, isn't it? I think I've been on this, I think it's this road I went on. I've been on this, I can't remember where we were going. I think we might have been going from Glasgow to Edinburgh. Anyway, I've been around this area. It's very pretty, but it's quite desolate. You can see there's some areas that are quite, what's the word? Not, you know, you've got like your concentration of where people live, and then you've got sort of big areas, expanses where there are no houses. So this is where it's taken place, Falkirk, round about this area. So, yeah, he was last seen on CCTV on Sunday, May the 4th in Longcroft, Falkirk at around 6 a.m. Now, we know that's definite because we've seen the CCTV. They were all saying, oh, you know, a lot of people were saying, because he seemed to be running and looking back on that CCTV. And then, of course, did he not go to his father's house? Apparently, tried to access his father's house, but I don't think he went into his father's house. I'm not sure. But that anyway was on the Sunday. But he was supposedly seen after that by a witness on May the 7th asking for a lift, and that lift was denied. And again, this is all we know. And that person who saw him who said he was asking for a lift was supposedly an old school friend of his. So it wasn't just someone who saw him and thought it was him. It was someone who would know him and would know if it was him. So what was that sighting? We don't know any more than that. Or I don't know any more than that. Maybe the family know a little bit more. Maybe the police know a little bit more. And then, so 4 weeks later, so from May the 7th, that was the last time anyone heard of him. And by June the 6th, his body was found in the wooded area of Banknock, with police treating his death as unexplained. So they're stopping short of suspicious, but they're not saying, not suspicious. I think that's where we're at really with Cole's death. So yeah, this vigil was held in the grounds of Glens Curlew Hotel, who I believe gave their very kindly, the Glens Curlew Hotel gave their premises, said to the family that they could use them for the vigil. So footage of the event was shared on a Facebook page which had been set up to trace Mr. Cooper, and his mother, Wendy Stewart, held up a flare at the memorial and comforted two young children, while older sibling Connor Cooper gave a tearful speech and thanked people in the community who had helped with the search. And his older brother said he is one of the most loving and caring boys there was. As a family, we will continue to demand answers and get justice for you. And his aunt, Amy Tenney, also gave a speech, said her nephew was the most handsome, caring, loving boy. And she said this little boy wanted nothing more than to have a family of his own and to have his business thrive. We are absolutely broken as a family. It doesn't feel real. We don't want to say goodbye to you. So a huge search was involved using air and marine units. Police scoured more than 2,000 hours of CCTV footage. So, yeah, I'm not sure why he was last seen on either May the 2nd or 3rd, but that's when he was last seen by his family, and he appeared on CCTV at around 6 a.m. on May the 4th in Longcroft, where he tried but failed to access his father's home. And then a couple of days after that, what happened in between? Where was he in between May the 4th and May the 7th? You've got to be somewhere. That's 3 days. Where was he then? Strange. But so we don't know if this is, I don't know if this is a confirmed sighting, but supposedly, according to what's being said, and don't shoot the messenger, he was last seen about 8:45 p.m. on May the 7th on the A803 near Cumbernauld Road in Longcroft. I keep saying Longcroft for some reason. When he asked a school friend for a lift, which he was not given. So, not sure why he wasn't given the lift. Was it because that school friend was not going that same direction? And where, to me, obviously, the family and the police will know more, but where was he between May the 4th and May the 7th? And this school friend, as I said, this is a school friend. This is not someone who just saw someone who looked a little bit like Cole and said, oh, yeah, I saw that guy. I saw that boy, a witness who didn't know Cole. This person supposedly knows Cole, went to school with him. He would know if it was Cole or not. He wouldn't think it was another person, would he? So police said that establishing Mr. Cooper's movements between Sunday, May the 4th and Wednesday, May the 7th is a priority for officers. So exactly, that's what I was saying. Where was he in between those two times? And Chief Inspector Alex Hattrick said, as they always say, it's a stock thing they say, isn't it? My thoughts are with Cole's family and friends at this time, and officers will continue to offer them support. As our inquiries progress, we are ensuring the family is kept informed with all aspects of the investigation. And a dedicated team of detectives is working to piece together Cole's movements leading up to his death. Again, I would urge people to think back. Please contact police with any information, no matter how small it might seem. So yeah, now I know I have a lot of viewers in Scotland. So if you know anything, just as they always say, it doesn't matter how small it is, just may even be something you've heard, somebody else has told you, but reliably, don't hesitate in contacting the police. They want your information. They're at that point where they want the information. They'll be going through all CCTV of all over because they need to know where he was in those few days. Why was he not seen in those few days leading up to the time when he supposedly asked for a lift? So these are all the things that the police have got to establish. So what I want to go to now is, so his family are alleging, this is a Sky News exclusive, according to Sky News, they are alleging, the family are alleging that there was definitely foul play, or at least there was a third party involved. So they're saying they've been at this. Let's have a look at this.
I'm never going to see him again. I never got a chance to give him a last cuddle, hold his hand.
I just remember Wendy kind of screaming down the phone, and obviously I was panicking, like wondering what's going on, and she said, we need to go home. So yeah, and then obviously once the phone call had ended, she'd told me that they found the body.
I personally have had to scream and shout from rooftops in order to be heard by the police. I don't think they've handled it well.
We actually had to beg them for an appeal. We had to beg them and ask them, please put an appeal out.
So they're saying they had to beg for an appeal. And, a lot of the reason why Cole became such a high-profile case was because of the family's efforts. They put a lot of efforts into, at the end of the day, I think this is something families have to do, really, isn't it? Because very sadly, a lot of people go missing, and especially young people. So the police, like it or not, they are restricted by their resources. So this family, they did the best thing that they could do. They created a Facebook page. And then people start to help, don't they? Spreading awareness on social media, etc. This is how word gets out. And sometimes, unfortunately, and we've seen it a lot, it is up to the family, whether that's, it's just the way it is. I'm not saying it's right that the families have to do that, but unfortunately, it's just the way it is. This family, they tried their hardest. They couldn't have tried any harder to try and find Cole, and spread awareness. And he loved karaoke, apparently. Oh.
We are obviously aware of small details surrounding what's happened the weekend leading up, whether it's been arguments. He's had a few arguments over that weekend and things. We just want the details leading up to his disappearance, and then just after or during his disappearance.
Yeah. So what arguments had he fallen out with some of his friends? This is where the investigation will centre, isn't it? And those few days in between that are crucial.
We want that kind of re-examined and be looked into.
What does justice, in your eyes, Wendy, as the mum of Cole?
Finding the culprit, and getting justice that way.
When you say culprit, just so I'm explicit here, are you meaning?
Find the person that's responsible for the death of my child. I do believe there's been some involvement by a third party in the result of the death of Cole.
Yeah. So as I say, we don't know yet actually what the cause of death was. Now it could have, so we shouldn't speculate about it, but even if it ended up something that Cole had done to himself, which we don't know, that why, what was the lead up to it? As a parent, and as a mother, you would want to know all the details, wouldn't you? So if Cole had had some arguments with his friends or with anyone, you want to know all those details. Why? How did Cole end up in that woodland area? And how did he end up deceased? And as I say, we don't have the cause of death, so we can't speculate on that. But yeah, and so his relatives don't believe his missing persons inquiry was taken seriously enough. So Wendy has said that her son had had various arguments in the days and hours before he disappeared. And she said he was only 19, he should never have been taken. I'm never going to see him again. I never got a chance to give him a last cuddle and hold his hand. Someone has taken that away from me far too soon, whether it be intentionally or unintentionally. I do believe there has been some involvement with a third party, and the result is the death of Cole. Well, I must admit, I think a mother's instinct, is normally right. So I think if she feels that, I think she's probably true. Also, the whole circumstances of it, as I say, however Cole passed from this world, there was something building up to it, so there's a couple of days that are missing, that they don't know where he was and what he was doing. So yeah, I agree with her. There's definitely something. There's something more to it, isn't there? There's something that the family don't know, that the police hopefully will establish. Hopefully. Because, I hope people are going to come forward, but sometimes people be scared of coming forward. Because if it was the fact that Cole, decided to take himself up from this world for whatever reason, people will be frightened to come forward, won't they? Because they won't want to be blamed, but the best thing they can do is come forward and give the family answers. That mother needs answers one way or another. That's inexplicable. A 19-year-old boy, he should be out again this weekend, looking forward to the weekend, having a good time, going to the karaoke, doing whatever he does, that he enjoyed doing. He was there, on the brink of his life, just a young lad, forever. Now he's forever 19. Another one, so very sad, isn't it? It's it seems like teenage years from the cases that I've covered, quite dangerous years, aren't they? They are difficult years. We know that. We've talked about that. Teenage years are difficult years for everybody. I wouldn't go back to being a teenager if you paid me £1 million. I wouldn't mind being a little bit younger again, but not a teenager, because it's just full of angst. It's full of, you worry about that. That's the time that you do worry about what people think of you, your friends. You take things to heart. As you get older, you really don't care. You just sort of find yourself, don't you? And you get to realize that people can be nice or horrible, but you have to try not to let them affect you and your sort of mental health, your peace of mind, etc. I think as you get older, you get better at that. But as a teenager, I think it happens all the time, doesn't it? Teenagers, unfortunately, not only to get into problems with other teenagers, and then we have these incidents, but also they'll go out, get drunk, do dangerous things, fall into rivers, fall into ravines when they're on holiday, or, get into car accidents, or, there's a million things that can happen to teenagers. Unfortunately, I think it is quite a dangerous time out of your life. And the worst thing is, if you like, or the best thing, whichever way you look at it, when you are a teenager, you don't even think about it. You do these things. You know, you walk home on your own, you get in a lift, in a taxi, in a car with someone that you hardly know, and maybe they've even been drinking or taking substances. You do all these things because teenagers do not think that anything can happen to them, do they? So it is for that reason alone, because teenagers don't think of consequences, don't think of what might happen. You know, as you get older, you see so many things happen that you're almost scared of walking out the door. You know, you go to the other extreme. You know, you consider everything, the safety aspect of everything, don't you? Whereas I think when you're a teenager, you don't. And then I think the most, for me, the most horrible thing about being a teenager is how much you care about what other teenagers think of you. You don't care what adults think of you. Like you know, your parents, you probably don't really take. You want them to love you, but apart from that, you know, don't really take their opinions on board, do you? But your peers, when you're a teenager, your friends, they can make or break you with cruel words, you know, and teenagers, unfortunately, they can be quite horrible to each other, can't they? So yeah, lots to come out yet about Cole. Thank you for being interested in Cole. I say my heart goes out to his family. I hope they get the answers that they deserve, and I hope that Cole is sleeping in the arms of angels. And you know, just my heart breaks as a mother, you know, of a young lad, though he's older than Cole now, but he's been there at that age, and I wouldn't want to go back there either again. Very difficult age, very difficult. 19. So, okay, thanks for watching. I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, as always, may your God go with you. God bless Cole.